When it comes to eating disorders, it is so important to recognize the motivation of the eating disorder. First, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie. I'm Long Island's eating disorder specialist, and I post on this channel twice a week, all about eating disorders, body image issues, and general mental health. So if any of that interests you, click the subscribe button down below. I will have a lot of content coming your way. And there are some changes that I have made to my YouTube channel that you may have noticed. I was posting 3 times a week. I am now posting 2 times a week. And the reason being is so that I could really put a lot more into each video. And also for many of my videos, I will be creating resources that could be really helpful to use in conjunction with the video itself. The way to get those worksheets or resources is to subscribe to my email list through the link below. I will have that in the description. That is something that at the beginning of the week, I will send you what is to come for the next week and any resources that I think would be helpful in that particular email so that you can use that when the video becomes live. And of course, if you're watching any of these videos at a later date, let me know what resource you're looking for. What you need to do is to subscribe to my list, respond to that email. It'll come to me. Let me know what resource you're looking for, what video you're watching, and I will go ahead and get you the resource for that. And of course, if you would like, check out my Instagram or my blog. I will leave those links in the description below. And if you like this video at the end, I would greatly appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And also, if you prefer listening to the content over watching content, I now have a podcast available. So go ahead and check that out. Of course, link in the description below. If you have watched prior videos, you know that I separate the eating disorder from you. It is really important to do this because the eating disorder pretty much is almost like a separate entity. And we need to recognize it as such, because when it's just in our brain and it just seems as though it's part of us and it is us, it becomes very, very difficult to work with. But when we can visualize it and realize that it really is a separate entity of itself with its own motivation, it gives us power. So what I always say is that there is this eating disorder, or the unhealthy self, or if you want to give it another name, go ahead and do so. And then there's you, which is your healthy self. There's one way, or many ways, to probably really recognize the difference, but one of the ways that I'm going to talk about is that your eating disorder is the thing that tells you to do things that are not going to be helpful for you. So what that means is your eating disorder is what's telling you, oh, don't eat that, you're too fat, you should go and exercise. If you eat that, you better be spending an hour at the gym. Your eating disorder is a bully. Your eating disorder is what is the entity that's speaking when you feel like crap about yourself afterwards. And then there's your healthy self. Your healthy self is probably the self that is watching this video right now. Your healthy self is the part of you that brings you into therapy. Your healthy self is the person or the entity that responds to your eating disorder. Be like, hey, I don't need to work for food. Or it says, I just stop. You're being just mean. I'm going to eat this anyway. You're telling me not to, but I'm still going to do that. That is your healthy self. We need to recognize that these are really 2 separate entities and it's fighting. And what happens is that we can envision our mind almost like a pie. And we have 100%, right? We are 100%. But what happens is that when you're struggling with an eating disorder, your healthy self gets smaller and your eating disorder gets bigger. And the way it happens is that your eating disorder takes up more of your brain, and why it happens is because your eating disorder has fought, and it's really fought down your healthy self. Let me give you an example to better visualize this. Imagine that there's a fight. If you ever heard of the story of the 2 wolves, it's like an old wives' tale type of thing. You could go ahead and check it. I'll try to find the resource and I'll send it in the email at the end of the week or at the beginning of the week before this video goes out. So what the story is there's 2 wolves, and one is fed and one is not. And of course, if there is going to be a fight between those 2 wolves, who is going to win? The one that's going to win is the one that is fed. And you can look at that in any way. You could look at that physically, fed with food, or you can look at that as fed through amping someone up, or just creating a space for that wolf or entity to thrive. So when we are going through an eating disorder, typically what happens is we end up feeding more and more the eating disorder. and the eating disorder then becomes stronger, therefore taking up more of a part of your brain. And it makes it very hard for the healthy self to fight. What happens is that you might find that you are absolutely miserable, but at the very least there's more of a peaceful feeling within your brain. And that is dangerous when you're engaging in an eating disorder, because that usually is a time that your healthy self feels defeated. Imagine two people. It's laying on the ground, and your eating disorder can just say whatever it wants, and it just keeps you down there. And it's really difficult. It's really difficult to fight back. So what's really important is to recognize this. Your eating disorder has one motivation at the drive of it all, and it's its own survival. The drive for your eating disorder is its own survival. And I can guarantee you that if you look at anywhere in the animal kingdom, there is nothing stronger than an entity's drive for survival. Think about it. If there's a fight between animals and it's a fight for its life, it'll be able to be stronger than it ever imagined. You, just like if you ever have witnessed, and I hope that you never have or never do, but a time where there's absolute like a drive that you need to have a survival drive kick in, because the stories like when there's a child trapped under the car and all of a sudden the mother develops like the superpowers. It's a drive for life. It's a drive for survival, and there's nothing stronger than that. So even with the eating disorder, it's its own separate entity, and its drive is for its own survival, and that means that your healthy self has to stay down. So that's what makes recovery very difficult, because what we need is for your healthy self to start fighting. So what happens is that when you come into therapy for an eating disorder, everyone is at various stages in terms of where their healthy self is and how much your eating disorder is taking up. So what we need to do is to start bringing up the healthy self. We need you to fight, and therapy can help you. Therapy can help push you up a little bit, but you're the one that ultimately needs to fight, because you're the person that needs to live with yourself every single day. So that's why it's really important to have as much support as you possibly can through therapy, through your loved ones, through any other professional or friend or person that you can be using as a support. It's important to find that. And what happens is that we can all support you. The online community can support your healthy self and try to get it back up. And what happens is that you might have been for all this time just giving into everything the eating disorder has said, so there wasn't a lot of a fight. But now, when all of a sudden your opponent is realizing that you're getting up and this could actually be a fight, it's going to get angry. And that's not to discourage you. It's so that you are prepared. Because more than likely what happens, and this is why, again, recovery is so difficult, is you're starting to fight and you're starting to get up, and your eating disorder is not only going to come at you as bad as it's been, it's going to come back with a vengeance, and it's going to be nasty. But that doesn't mean that you aren't strong, and we can't get you strong. That's why it's so important to rely on your support system to help you through it. They can't do the work for you, but they can absolutely be a support for you. And while you're trying to get up, they could be helping push you up. And also to be able to tell you, no, don't give in. Don't listen to what that eating disorder is telling you. That's mean. That's something that it's trying to survive. It's not for you. And it might be tricky. It might be sinister in trying to say, this is your healthy self talking, when it's really your eating disorder. That's when therapy can really come in handy, because it could point out, as a therapist, I could point out, like, no, that might seem like it's your healthy self, but that's your eating disorder. And you'll be trained to be able to recognize it for yourself, but that requires your healthy self to be working. That requires your healthy self to be active and to be fighting. So the purpose of this video is just to really recognize that these are two separate entities, and it is a fight, and it's not easy. Not to discourage you, but to recognize and to be prepared for what you can expect. And you can do it. You can absolutely recover. There's people who are recovering every single day. And it's not to make you feel bad if you aren't at that stage yet, because you can recover. I don't care where you're at, you can recover. It's going to be a fight, and it's going to be a fight for your life, but you can do it. Use your support system, use the tools that you're taught, use the online community, use my channel, use my content, use whatever it is that you need to get yourself up and fighting. I do hope that you liked this video and that you found it helpful or inspiring. Whatever, if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any inspiring words for anyone else who might be dealing with this right now and be concerned or fighting for their life at this very moment. You could click my face over here to subscribe to my channel, and I wish you strength on your journey to finding your state of balance, and I will see you in my next video.